If nobody shows up, hey, we're just gonna.
Sorry,
If,
say
if
again?
nobody if nobody shows up, then it's just gonna be me and you. Hey,
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm sure Cobra show up. Um, yeah, I'm just that old school, and I like to talk to people. And one of the things I've noticed is on all of social media, there's very little chatting, like physical talking, where you
yeah,
can sort of build up a bigger relationship and judge people via their emotions of voice, rather than you can read a text and you don't really know how to take the text most of the time. You don't know
yeah, you got
how
like
it's been said.
keyboard warriors that'll
Yeah,
hide behind their username, and then they'll say
exactly.
all
Yeah,
kinds of bad stuff. So it's like
yeah.
toxic. It ends up being pretty toxic.
Mm,
Whereas if you get the voice involved, you're like, oh, you didn't mean to insult me. I can hear the tone
yes.
of your voice. And you're
Yeah.
actually a real person and not
Yeah.
an AI generated bot.
Well, yeah. That's the other side of it all, which
Well, maybe you're like trying to bring it back to more social interaction. So you're taking your skill, which I think is you have a relationship skill where you're able to reach out to people and
yeah.
have good communication, bringing that to the virtual world
Yeah.
to get people back out. You're trying to save souls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's 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 crazy. I was saying to the guys last night, we had quite Saturday night's getting quite popular in the chat on there. And I was saying to the guys last night, I'm really trying hard to get my head around interacting in this social media way because I think it's important that I, at least try and understand what people are using and what they're doing to communicate in all subjects, really. But I get a bit frustrated sometimes because I really do want to talk to someone, but I understand people don't want to talk. And my son, my son said to me, my youngest boy, he said to me, Dad, what's wrong? And I said, oh, I'm getting a bit frustrated not being able to talk as much as I want to when communicating. And he said, well, he said, to be fair, Dad, he said to me, Kem, he said, I didn't realize you would last this long on the internet, Dad, because it's so not you. And I just like looked at him and went, you know me very well, son, don't you? I said, yeah. But I don't want to just give in. I want to just try and bring bring more interaction. And so far, the feedback that I've had from some people, they've really sort of enjoying it. That actually being able to talk rather than
Yeah,
type.
it's like you're like reinventing
Yeah,
reinventing talking for people. Because
absolutely.
since the C-19 or the COVID crisis,
Yeah.
people have been pushed online a lot more and
Mm.
going more virtual. And to bring people back, it's like, oh, you mean we can just talk face to face or with our voice? Wow, it's a new concept for some people that are, they've been online for the past 3 years
Yeah.
and find comfort in that. And it's like, well, get out of your little comfort zone, come back to reality.
Yeah. And it was really interesting. Someone, one of the things that really pricked me ears up to this whole concept of the virtual world is someone during the conversation said, what I like about the Discord, the YouTube, all of the social media sites is I can be who I want to be and how I want to be. And I sat there, Kem, and I thought about it and I thought, wow, you can hide yourself in this for the right
Hmm.
reasons and the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And I really sat there and I thought, wow, that's 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 interesting. That's really interesting. That if a place is provided where people can virtually be what they want to be and play with that, then are you ever getting
Sing
to
it
really?
out.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's a little bit like wow. So
Yeah, we
yeah,
could test out their personalities and be like, let's see if I get acceptance, if
yeah.
it's okay to be myself. Well,
Mm,
yeah, long term, it's a tool just like anything else. It could be
sure.
good, it could be bad. So if people are realizing that they can be themselves, then maybe it offers a new almost like a new paradigm, like something where society can go in that direction and realize that, hey, people are okay with who I am. I can actually be a real person. A big pet peeve of mine is when you go to a store or you interact with people,
Yeah,
the first thing they say around here is, "Hi, how are you?"
yeah,
And then the other person responds, "Hi, how are you?"
yeah,
Nobody actually answers. It's just a greeting now.
yeah,
So they're not even thinking about what they're saying,
yeah,
"How are you?"
yeah,
It's just, "Hi, how are you?" That's just how I greet people.
yeah,
You really want to know how I'm doing? Like anybody that
yeah,
ever asked me that, I
yeah,
give it some thought. I'm like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
today's not. I had this going on this day. And
So
then people look at me like I'm a weirdo for answering.
yeah, it's strange, isn't it? It's strange.
So you just have people that are disconnected from one another. And it's just like, okay, you're just another non-playable character I have to deal with today. Hi, how are you? Okay, get out of my hair.
Mm,
On to the next one. But if you take that time and answer and suck somebody into a conversation, maybe they'll realize it's not that bad.
absolutely. But it's interesting what you just said there. I love listening to the concept of what you come out with. Some we're all becoming characters.
Hmm,
I mean,
yeah,
and in that space, and you can be who you want to be. You can totally be who you want to be.
yeah. Some people want to dress up as cartoon characters like Camel and myself. That's what we want to be.
I love it. I love it. Yeah,
People that are a little more brave, maybe show their face like yourself.
yeah, yeah, that's very true. But
Mhm.
it's just even that concept of, isn't it strange? I mean, I get why in the precious metals world, I really do get that. Um, but I even find that a bit strange as well, why people don't want to show a little bit more of who they are and what they are.
Well,
No,
that's,
I
that's,
find
that's
it
the
really weird.
COVID thing. It cut people off from each other.
Hmm.
It could push everybody more virtual, and maybe that's also part of a larger plan to kind of. I always think of it as like divide and conquer. So, like, if you want your population to be subversive, you divide them, and then they fight with each other instead of fighting against the power. So that's why we have elections, give people something to fight about,
Yeah,
or you have the COVID crisis where you have people that are feeling one way about it, a whole other group of people that feel the complete opposite. Just, we have conflict in the Middle East, of course, Russia and Ukraine. All over the world, people are very divided. Who's who's right and who's wrong?
hmm.
Instead of just backing up and saying probably both wrong. Something else more sinister going on that you're not looking at, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, everything is like set up to divide us, and if we fall into that trap, be divided. Maybe that
yeah,
virtual thing, we're fighting against it. People like yourself that are like, "Hey, bring this back into. Hey, let's talk. Let's have the conversation going."
yeah,
That's something that I tell people all the time. Well, is let's keep the conversation going. Let's just talk about your mind to other ideas instead of remaining divided. I think of the blue and the red over here stateside party, red party, and it's just you're just fighting for a team instead of what will actually benefit the most amount of people in the country. You're playing the side of the team. It's like you don't care what your team is necessarily doing. You just want to fight against the other team
yeah,
just for, just for the sake of being right. But in the history, I mean, 10, 20 years from now, the victor gets to write the history. So you
yeah,
don't know if you're going to be right. You could be dead wrong according to history. But right now, you feel like my side is the right side, your side is wrong. So anything you say, I'm not going to listen to it.
yeah. It's a bit scary, isn't it? How's it all going over there?
Oh, we have some fun some fun stuff going on with regards to the politics. So recently, there was a crisis that kind of happened in North Carolina. Big hurricane hit,
Yes.
and there's a community that got wiped out. They're blocking people from helping. Like your average citizens are trying to help the government to step in and start helping fight up bureaucracy. So it's very political from what I'm hearing. A lot of things are turning very political. People at the border that are just coming in from the southern border turn very political. And it seems like everything is turning very political and nothing gets done. So once the government intervenes, of course, that just slows everything down and there's a lot of bureaucracy, which maintains the status quo. It just keeps everything in place and everybody's kind of treading water, waiting for change that never comes. And then when the change does come, it's not to your benefit anyway. So some people are waking up to this harshly with this crisis that happened in North Carolina, where the FEMA federal and they're supposed to help with disaster management. They're kind of sitting on the sidelines because they're too preoccupied elsewhere. So private citizens took it upon themselves to start flying their own helicopters in there to deliver food or assistance or get people out of there. They're getting blocked. There's a threat of
Wow.
getting arrested trying to save people that are essentially going to be starving fairly soon, within a few days. So they're without food or water. The water's not drinkable because there are some people that have passed away that are floating around in the water. So that
No.
water is drinkable. So yeah, they have no food, no water. They're running out of supplies, and they're kind of stuck. They're trapped in an area where they can't get out by car, maybe by boat or helicopter, from what I'm hearing. But there seems to be no aid coming, and people are kind of I don't say people are crying out online about the bureaucracy holding things up. It's like there's some people that are really, really mad about
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
this. I mean, I'd be mad. I
Yeah.
mean, I do have my supplies, but even if people had, like, I've heard of people that have their whole house just wiped out. Like it floated down river. It's totally destroyed. So all their supplies, if they did prepare for a disaster, that's
Yeah.
all gone anyway.
Wow.
I was just talking to some guy over here that he drove in from Georgia. He's fine, but he said his daughter lost the entire house. The whole house just washed away. But
But
their swimming pool was an above ground swimming pool, still sitting in place untouched. Uh, their patio furniture was still sitting in place untouched, totally fine. But the house gone. And it's just weird. Like, how do things like that happen?
yeah. And what's the is it oh someone's just wanted to join, crikey. Is so what's the main cause of no aid? Is it political or
Well, the FEMA director, no, it wasn't the FEMA director. It was the governor of the state of North Carolina that said that they don't have enough money after sending, a lot of money overseas to other countries like Israel or Ukraine. And now they say they don't have enough money to get through hurricane season. I think I saw somewhere that like another one is coming within the next few weeks, not necessarily aimed at North Carolina, but we're still in hurricane season. So there could be more disasters coming.
yeah.
And they don't have any money, supposedly. But
Wow.
there's people that want to help and they're getting blocked from helping because they have to follow some kind of process. I don't know. That just sounds very political to me.
Yeah. That's you just wouldn't expect that in this day and age, would you? Especially in a Western so-called um,
Developed country. Yeah.
developed country.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the development is kind of going backward.
You've just blown my mind.
That's crazy.
One, I didn't realize the the whole situation, how bad it was, but two, that the country's not helping their own people.
Yeah.
What? That's weird.
When they're offering money, supposedly offering money to the immigrants that are coming into the southern border, they're getting plenty of assistance. Um, and that's supposedly where the federal aid is going right now, and that's why they don't have money for a disaster because it's all tied up in whatever's going on there. And there's some that are speculating that this all has to do with the elections that are coming up next month and how they want as many immigrants as possible to vote, which they got rid of. In California, there is no voter ID anymore. They don't have to show identity or proof of identity in order to vote in the federal election, which is crazy because then you just have anybody in the world can essentially vote on the outcome of one particular country. The United
Right.
States is such a powerhouse that hey, maybe that's not necessarily the wrong way to go because the United States kind of dictates
Yeah.
the direction of a lot of countries regardless.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody should vote. Yeah. Worldwide elections sounds very a lot like the end of the Bible there, one world government.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's crazy. That is absolute craziness. It's scary,
Crazy,
Kent, though, isn't it?
crazy times. Um, looks like it's being pushed in that direction. It just makes no sense. That's what, like you're saying, it's crazy because it doesn't make any sense. It's
No.
really crazy what they're trying to do
But the
or
thing
not
is,
do.
yeah, and the thing is, it pushes you towards wanting to start to look around for the so-called conspiracy theories because it starts to make the conspiracy theories more reality,
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't it? Because that in its own, what you just said to me, I've got no need to obviously not believe you. But lots of people could tell, oh, yeah, that's a conspiracy people. Of course, the people being helped, but in true reality, it's not happening. So it's not a conspiracy theory, it's reality.
Yeah. Then you take that. What's going on? You take that to its conclusion. What's the end goal of that? What are they trying to achieve? Where it's just more division. They're trying to divide people even more, or get
Yeah,
people to not like the government. And you'd think it's malintent, like they intend to do something bad, or it's utter stupidity.
it makes you
If
think
they're
that for
that
sure.
incompetent, that's crazy that they would be that incompetent. Because anybody anybody with a right mind could see, hey, we need to send resources over there, or we'll have a decent amount of loss of life, like a significant amount of people. It just makes perfect sense to send some resources. However, they're not doing that. Those with the resources are holding on to them and maybe devoting them somewhere else to another country, which there are other countries that are in crisis mode as well. But the taxpayers and people under this government expect help or assistance from our government. That's the reason you guys are there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That must be a massive story. Or is it not? Is it just sort of swept under under the cover type thing, under the carpet?
So I don't follow mainstream news very much. I think they touch on it, but seeing not seeing people really talk about it a lot. And when they do mention it, it's like, oh yeah, there's a crisis going on over there. It's like, oh, it's kind of a big deal. I mean, if you're in that crisis, it's your whole world, but everybody else is like where I'm at, where it's like, yeah, some bad stuff happened over there. Not much I can do about it. I'm over here. Yeah, you'd expect the government to come in and help more and story to be more widespread, but it doesn't seem to be. So when we have massive stories that are pushed out, like Israel, that's taking up a lot of the news feed.
Sure.
The Ukraine war day takes up a lot of the news feed. What's going on with that?
Yeah.
But this North Carolina thing, a whole town was wiped out. I don't know how large the town was, fairly small town up in the mountains, but completely wiped out. And
Wow.
they need help. And you'd think there would be more news coverage on there, but you can't get reporters in there to really report on it. Some social media people are kind of trying to get in there. I think Hawaii Senate Representative Tulsi Gabbard went over there. I kind of saw a brief news piece that she did. But, it seems to be trying to get hush hushed.
Right.
Trying to the vice president, who's Kamala Harris, she's doing podcasts and stuff, and she's not over there, trying to help. But neither is Donald Trump either. They're still carrying on with their campaigns. Say, hey, we'd like to see a leader who cares. Do they even care?
So how how I mean to give us a bit of an idea, how big is this area that's been affected, cut off and decimated by this hurricane?
Can't be that big.
Hmm.
Like it's supposedly a small town in the mountains. I guess probably 10,000 to 20,000 people got displaced by it.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. But there's not news coverage on it. That's what I'm saying. Like the story's getting out little by little. It's mainly via social media, but the mainstream media is not. They're not on the ground over there. So how big is it? How bad is it? I think we're allowed to know just yet.
Yeah.
It is strange to have a hurricane go all the way up to North Carolina and kind of leave Louisiana, Georgia, the states that were in its path, didn't get affected as much as North Carolina. Kind of a
That's,
long way for a hurricane to travel, but then end at that specific spot, wipe out a lot of things right there. There were other places that got affected by the hurricane, but they're not as bad off. And then there's of course the conspiracy theories about the lithium mines that are there and shady stuff potentially going on. It's like Maui when that happened in Maui last year. All the houses that were burned up, and the ones that were painted blue were just fine, supposedly.
really?
Oh yeah, they had something going on over there where they had blue flagpoles or something like that, blue mailboxes, not charred at all. Thing around them totally charred to the ground, burnt to the ground, and the fires, those wildfires, ended up stopping right where the rich people's neighborhoods were. And this is in Hawaii and stuff. So
Yeah.
there was the very valuable land in Hawaii. People
Hmm.
want beachfront property,
Hmm.
vacation resorts there, a lot of money to be made. But the native people that were there, they had their houses and they weren't selling them. Now may not be able to stay on the land for whatever reason. Could be a big land grab, and we could have the same thing happening in North Carolina.
Sure.
Again, conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
But as of late, these conspiracy theories turn into conspiracy truths.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. It's so weird, Cam, isn't it? I don't know what's going on. It uh, trying to get your head around. Well, I'm not getting my head around that these poor people in this part of the USA, one of the biggest economies in the world, aren't getting any help. That's just weird. It's so
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, it's basically turned into Africa.
Yeah, it's
Like
just
remote places in Africa that aren't getting any assistance. I wouldn't expect that. I'd expect better from, well, the community, have more resources for, our fellow man. Far I am from Carolina, it'd probably be 15 hours, 15 to 20-hour drive from
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I wouldn't mind making the drive over there. I
Mm,
could get arrested just for trying to help and for driving for, you know, 15 hours. There's some people on social media. I did see some people loading up trailers, getting fundraising from their communities, like online presence, and they're sending stuff over there. Hey, freaking awesome
brilliant.
that
Yeah.
social media is able to do that. They're able to crowd fund and support
Hmm.
via social media. People can, donate, send things, and they'll be shipped over there. Hopefully, it's not a cash grab by these influencers where they're,
Oh,
the help
yeah,
gets there. Hey, more power to you, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty, excuse my language, fucked up, isn't it? All of that. It's bizarre. It's just so bizarre. Really bizarre. So other than that, what's it like over in America at the moment?
Everything is so in and around my circle, like in real life, we call it now.
Yeah,
Um, Everybody around me seems to be not doing very well. Like they need help, they need assistance. Um, Usually financially related,
yeah,
and we haven't even entered anything really bad yet. The economy, supposedly, according to the statistics, is still doing just fine.
yeah.
I was talking with somebody that hasn't worked in about a month due to some unforeseen circumstances.
Hmm.
It's like, are you even trying to work? Well, the family members aren't doing great with their finances, but they are trying. they could be they could be full of shit as well.
Yeah.
Well, maybe everybody's looking for this online presence or what? Want to get online, and things in real life now are just don't want to deal with other people. I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of the same way. I don't like dealing with people.
Okay.
I don't have very many like-minded people around me. So the closest one is probably in Michigan, which is 4 or 5 hour drive for me. And I'll go hang out with him and yeah, totally like-minded and you can relate. Whereas people in my immediate vicinity, I can't relate to them very well. Too divided. Everybody's too divided. I remember growing up, like 20 years ago, you'd find some common ground with people in your area. Maybe because we were forced to. And now that everything's more global and more online presence, holding ourselves to higher standards for people and like wanting to have like-minded things and there's less compromise in your immediate circle
Yeah.
because you're like, well, I can go hide online and I can find other people that are like-minded, like your community, Camel's community, or the discords that we're part of. We're finding groups online, like-minded people that geographically are nowhere near us.
Yeah.
Maybe we're developing like factions and it's all so then we become in real life we become very isolated. I wonder if
Mm.
that's a thing going on. Just thinking about it out loud. Thinking about it out loud now. Is that the plan? They want to isolate him.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of people feel lonely.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. That's why, lots of people can turn to the internet, social media, and not feel so lonely.
Yeah,
It's really sad, isn't it? It's, I'm not quite sure. I can see in the UK, albeit I am a little bit maybe naive to really going on because I don't really stay in contact with the main media, but I like to stay in contact with the social media and see what that's going on. But that seems to be very biased. It's either one way or the other. Yeah, it's really difficult to try and find someone that will report things in the middle.
Yeah.
Um, it is it yeah. Thinking about it, yeah. Even over here, like if you're using YouTube for argument's sake, you can flick through, and you just find either people very wokey or people not very wokey. You know. Um,
And that goes back to that online presence where you can put out your idea
yeah,
and not have any consequences if you have no compromise.
yeah,
So if you don't compromise on your ideas and have a discourse with somebody else,
yep,
you can stay very, very one-sided and
yep.
commit to it and have no repercussions of that. Nobody's going to come, for the most part, nobody's going to come and beat you up over it.
No,
They'll beat you up online. It's like, okay, I'll just create a new user profile and have
ex
somebody new.
exactly. Yeah, it's really bizarre, isn't it? I find it so bizarre. Um,
Well, imagine the kids growing up that's all they know.
exactly. Yeah, I was talking about
That
that yesterday.
going back to being in real life and actually having conversations with people
Yeah,
is going to be so foreign to them. I mean, I actually have to somebody.
yeah, yeah. There's a term that I've heard being used when you meet young people and they seem to have difficulty interacting physically. And some people use a term of that they feel socially awkward.
Yeah,
And,
like
and
it's a new disorder. Like they're probably going to try to treat it medically with medication and stuff.
exactly, yeah. It's, yeah, it's mad. It's mad. It's mad. It's mad. So, yeah, yeah, it's weird that we're beginning. Yeah, I must admit, we're beginning to see it over here. The elections are finished, but
So did the elections go in the direction of conservative or more liberal over there?
definitely more liberal.
Hmm.
Um, we always had Conservative and Labour parties.
So the Labor Party is the conservative party over there.
No,
Who's
no.
the conservative?
The Conservatives were always back in the day. The Conservatives were the Blue Party, and the Blue Party normally supported the more wealthier, uh, business orientated side of the community in the UK.
Like, like the rich people?
Yeah, the rich people, and upper middle class, because it's still a bit classy over here.
Yeah.
It's sort of the middle class on and upwards, the higher middle class and upwards.
Well,
Whereas
what's the name of that party, the conservative party over there?
it's called the Conservative Party.
Huh,
Yeah,
keep it simple. All right.
yeah, very simple. And then you had the Labour Party, which is the red. Back in the day, were always the working class party, the party for the working man and the working woman, the working class, which is not truly represented nowadays at all. Um, they've they've totally, or it would appear, well, it's definitely more than, yeah, I would say definitely within the politics side of it, although I don't follow it too much anymore because I've just totally lost faith in it all.
Yeah.
But the Labour Party does not stand for the working man anymore. It's probably what the Conservative Party used to be, but then turned more wokey, liberal on steroids.
Really?
Oh God, yeah, yeah, for sure, yeah, really
And then do you
strange.
have the liberal party
We
as
do.
well?
We have a Liberal Party, um, but I don't really know they're called the Liberal Democrat Party. Um, but they never really get. It's always red and blue, Labour and Conservative parties. Nothing more, nothing less. Yeah, Cobra's joined us. Very cool. So yeah, that's what we've got. And it would seem nowadays it doesn't matter who gets in, the issues are the same, and
I know, right? Like every
it's all
election, we go through the same thing.
absolutely,
Everybody always speaks of we need a
yeah,
change we could believe in. This is the
absolutely,
most important election of our lifetime.
yeah.
And same old, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, well, now Cobra's here. I love his lighter he's just used. Hello, mate. How you doing?
Hello, guys. I'm so sorry I'm late. I had a couple of things to deal with, which came up a little unexpected. But yeah,
Hey,
all
pull up a chair,
sorted.
grab a drink.
Ah, yeah, I will. I will. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, that's fine. You all right?
What you been chatting about? What's going on?
Well, I was just asking Ken what was going on in America, obviously.
Yeah,
And to cut a long story short, Ken will tell you anyway. But do you know this disaster in, was it Carolina, Ken?
yeah,
North Carolina, yeah.
North Carolina? He was saying that this roughly about 10,000 people are getting no help.
yeah,
Oh, you know.
yeah. I know all about it. Yeah,
Oh, right. Okay. And it
yeah.
was just like, I didn't know. And it's just like, what? There's no help. What's going on?
And there's another really big one coming into Florida, Tampa sides.
Yeah.
The
That one
massive one
I
coming in
saw
there.
on the map, it looks like it started like close to inland and it's kind of going outward
Right.
from what I saw on the map was like hurricanes don't usually start like that. They start out in the ocean and come in.
Yeah. There's a lot changing, and the frequency of these hurricanes are getting more and more.
Mhm.
So I mean, whether it guides to global warming or anything else, but it's not good. It's not good. Insurance companies are sort of turning around and going, we're not insuring no more, or not paying out any major amounts. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
That's a major thing with insurance companies. And it may prove to be the downfall of a lot of economic factors because those insurance companies have a lot of investment because they take in people's monies, all their premiums,
Yeah,
and that money all gets invested. And
yeah,
then they pay out what they pay out. They mainly make their money from investment. So I
yeah.
think 60% of what they take in, customarily, they would invest in U.S. Treasury bonds and get that yield,
Mm,
and it keeps your money safe. But those, um, those Treasury bonds are down 50% in value. Sure, they've been getting the premium or the yield off of it, but still, their investment is down 50%. So they're tightening up their belts. I've seen it in construction with disaster, like small disaster, where you have a roof leak or something like that. They're counting every penny. There's 2, 3 years ago, they approved so much stuff for people. They get really deep. Now they're counting every penny. But yeah, insurance companies, they could be really in deep water there.
yeah, and they're refusing to insure certain places now. So in Florida, a lot of them pulled out, and then they used the national insurance company to do the people who couldn't afford the other ones. Um, but it's not so much that you can't maybe afford a house in Florida. It would be you can't afford the insurance, or you can't even get insurance.
Yeah, you can't even get it.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Which
bad, very bad situation.
I just think that like there's so many hurricanes every year in Florida. I just think why do people want to live there? It's just disaster every year.
Yeah, the Sunshine State.
The sunshine's it's hot.
Yeah,
You go down there. Have you been there?
I have.
You
Yeah,
go there.
yeah.
It's just hot. It's so hot, and then you get disasters. I'm like,
Where do
my
you live
cup
in
of tea.
America?
Farther north, over by the Great Lakes.
Okay, so
It's
what
over
state
in
are you in?
Ohio.
Oh yeah,
Ohio.
okay. And how's it over there?
Temperature is pretty, pretty, pretty good year round. We get a little bit of snow, and the summers can get hot for a few weeks, but overall temperate. It's we get the best of both worlds.
A bit like England then.
Yeah, it's kind of like there without all the dreary rain. You guys get a lot of rain where you're at.
Yeah, it's very dreary at the moment.
So,
Very dreary.
so from there, Cobra, we ended up. I was trying to explain what the Conservative Party and the Labour Party was in this country,
Hmm.
and I was saying to Kem, because Kem said, "What's the Conservative Party called?" And I said, "It's the Conservative Party."
Yeah,
and the Labour Party is a Labour Party, and I was just saying, like, the Conservative Party has always sort of been like the upper middle class representation, you know, up to the corporate world and the business world, looking after them. And the Labour Party back in the day was for the working man, wasn't it?
yeah, it was
And now it's just become
woke.
the wokey left, whatever party. You know, it's just a
Uh,
joke, an absolute joke,
yeah,
Is it like a two-party system over there?
pretty
pretty
much.
much. I mean, you've got other parties, but yeah, really, it's Conservative and Labour.
Okay.
And it has been for as long as I can remember. You've got other parties, you've got the Green Party, you got this party, you got that party, and Reform was a new one, which was a split of Conservatives. Um, but realistically, it's always going to be Conservative or Labour. It's like yourselves, you've got Democrats and Republicans, and it's a two-party system, really.
Yeah. And
It's always going to be.
Canada used to have more. Like I used to live up in Canada some 20 years back, and they had 3/4 parties that would kind of contend. That was mainly two, but still that third runner up took a significant portion of the vote. Whereas
Yeah,
nowadays, I don't think so. I think they're gearing towards the two-party system just like everybody else,
yeah,
which gives you the illusion of choice. Like George Carlin said, like you have two manufacturers of gasoline. You have two parties that you can vote for, but you have 31 flavors of ice cream to give you the illusion that you have live in a free society with choice.
yeah. Yeah, exactly that. Um, and if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer. Do you veer more towards the Republicans or Democrats?
I would definitely say, okay, so I got backstory to this. I was raised very Democrat thinking,
Mm,
um, very liberal. Those were kind of for the working class. Republicans were always seen as the business class and the rich people, warmongers, stuff like that. Whereas since Obama took office, it kind of flipped.
yeah,
And now the way I see it, it's the complete opposite. So I lean more Republican because they're more conservative, conservative values.
yeah,
Personally, I'm more libertarian. It's like let people do what they want to do, stay out of our business.
yeah.
But if I had to pick red or blue, I'd go more red because they seem to be not warmongers anymore the way they were back
Well,
in 2001.
I'm in a very similar place as you. So I've always sort of, or when I was younger, I was Labour because it was for the working people. Um, but as I've grown and I've worked hard and developed what I've developed, it's like, no, Conservatives are for capitalism and all that, which I think pushes a thing of working hard and achieving something and all that. And the Labour side has just gone so woke now. It's ridiculous and it's going to do a lot of harm to people. I don't think it's a good thing. And Labour say they're for the working people, but someone who's worked all their lives and built something, they will come in and tax the hell out of us and kill us
Yeah,
to give benefits to people who don't want to work or can't work or whatever, to a point that we're paying for it all. But I've worked all my life to get to where I've got to.
and that's where the competition is. So
Mm.
you see the Conservative Party is more for capitalism and competition in markets,
Yeah,
whereas the blue Party or the Democrat Party would be more towards everybody deserves a chance. Let's give everybody social welfare or corporate welfare,
yeah.
and everybody can have a starting base where they're successful. And
But
it's
that
like, well,
makes
there's no
people lazy.
competition. Well, it makes people lazy. There's no competition. There's no
Yeah,
drive to make things better.
yeah,
Then society just stays stagnant. Like,
yeah.
just
I
wait for the
agree.
government to check.
I agree. And then when it comes to Trump, how do you feel about Trump?
Trump is the. There's an argument to be said that he is the Antichrist,
Right.
and now with getting getting a mortal wound to his head, if you're a follower of the Bible, it's kind of checking a lot of boxes there.
Right.
Trump as a person, I don't think that he's any better than any other rich billionaire.
Yeah.
It's a big club, you ain't in it. So Trump is, in my opinion, a disruptor. So
Right.
that's the only reason that I like him is because he's starting some shit, basically.
So
And
I wasn't overly keen on him in the beginning because he comes out with some rubbish, right? And that's what pisses me off about him, where he'll turn around and say, yeah, there was an immigrant and they're eating your cats and dogs, right? Ugh, come on, that's not true. One person ate a cat, but you can have a normal American person who might have done something as well. So, and inject yourself with bleach to get rid of COVID, things like that. But what I like about Trump is that he can't be easily influenced by all the major financial institutions or anyone else, and that's why they don't like him, and that's why they don't want him in the position of power again. He does what he wants, and I like that. Do you know what I mean? And I think, well, if you were to put Biden and him side by side, I would be running towards Trump. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. Even 4 years ago when they were contending for the election and Biden supposedly won, I'm like, has the country gone mad? Like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
this guy is a career politician, which means you're going to go same old, same old.
mm,
They just voted against Trump. It was really a Trump election last time, where it's you either like Trump or you don't,
yeah,
and you'll vote for Biden just to not have Trump. Like,
yeah. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. But
Now
I
we're
just
stuck with
think
this
I think
Biden.
if Trump just calmed himself down on some of his dumb comments, he could be great. He could be really good. But I just think sometimes he comes out with these things and you think, really, bruv? Really? Like, come on, man. Come on. You
It's
know, but
entertainment, though. I
oh,
think that,
without a doubt. But entertainment doesn't rule the country in the best way. But I think he's better than anyone else at the moment. And Kamala, well, I don't know. Just why, why couldn't the Democrats find anyone better than Kamala? She
oh
just
my
laughs and
god,
talks rubbish.
I don't know anybody in the Democrat Party that people could really get behind, though. So,
Yeah,
like, when I listen to political social media, I listen to both sides because I want to
yes,
see what the other side is saying versus that side. Who's more crazy is
yeah,
what this election is going to boil down to. Who's more crazy, Trump or the crazy wokeness?
mm,
That's kind of what we're basing our stuff on, seemingly. But I think they're all chosen.
yeah, oh yeah,
Trump getting into office, I think he was placed there for a reason. I think he's kind of developed a cult following,
mm,
which I think is not it's not healthy. Where I mean, if you read the end of the Bible, it kind of all fits. Where he's meant to be the savior, or this is what a lot of Republicans think. Like, oh, Trump's here to save us all. And you got to be of the mind that Trump doesn't give a shit about you.
yeah.
He's definitely self-centered. He definitely cares about himself.
He's a narcissist.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Horrible. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's bad at running a country because
yeah.
we kind of want that narcissism to go attack other countries if we need to.
Look, every country's government should protect their country the most and take
Yeah,
care of their people the most. I agree with that because otherwise, if you just, oh yeah, let's just go and help the whole world and do everything, you're going to put yourself aside. So any government should be taking care of its country first, right?
yeah.
I agree with that. But he's a narcissist. There's no two ways about it. No two ways about it, you know? But I can't put religion to it. I'm not religious, just being straight up. I'm not religious. I'm not Christian. I'm not anything. You know what I mean? I'm an atheist. So I don't put religion. I literally look at it from a perspective of what are they going to do to benefit the country or benefit anything else?
If they're even meant to benefit anything else.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think they're all installed and this is all a story playing out somebody's benefit. And
Mm.
over the years, we see who's benefiting from this. Trump, it seems like all political parties, I don't know if it's like that over there, but in the United States, it's all captured by Israel. It's like Israel is funding most of the political candidates and a lot of the Senate. I mean, there's a lot of money that comes from Israel, United States, and very supportive of things that Israel does, even if it's wrong.
Yeah, well, they do have a massive financial interest in America, and that's why. But and you're exactly right. They will support Israel no matter what, no matter what. They have to,
Yeah.
because they're dependent on Israel as well. So
How
yeah,
so? I mean, dependent just for the finances, like you're saying, like getting
financial,
paid
yeah,
off.
financial wise, yeah. As
Well,
in,
it's not dependent. It's just people want to line their pockets.
well, yeah, yeah, fair play. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dependent was probably the wrong word.
Depending on whether or not that check cashes or not.
Yeah, but the financial institutions have massive links with Israel and all that lot, and lot of money flows that way. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's not good.
the
CPM,
whole
you've gone
world.
very quiet there in the background.
Just listening
That's
to
what he
you
knows.
two. What's my diagnosis? It's all bullshit and bollocks.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We know that. We know that. Absolutely.
It's good. How do
No.
you get out of the bullshit and bollocks? I mean,
Sorry.
you got a few little. How do you get out of the bullshit and bollocks that we're all?
Oh,
I mean, we're sheep getting led to the slaughter. We're going into the slaughterhouse. Everybody is, or maybe not the slaughterhouse. Like the sheep are getting sheared year
Mm.
after year.
yeah.
We're just getting sheared. So we have to quit being sheep and wake up other people. It's like if there's enough sheep and you have some black sheeps in there that are trying to go the other way, we're getting pushed with the herd no matter what,
Do you think that
unfortunately.
the do you I don't know. Do you think that's even a possibility that the masses can wake up to say enough's enough? Or are we just too far gone?
I'll
No.
Hmm.
let you go first on that chemo.
Is there a possibility? There is a possibility, but it would be painful.
Yeah.
So the way I would see that playing out is a total collapse of the US dollar and the US hegemony. So the quality of life in the United States and many Western countries would go down substantially in order for a major change like that to happen. So for people in Western worlds, very painful. Emerging countries, emerging markets, not as painful, and then they just have to wait it out for their turn to, not get on top, but to develop. Like you'll have south of the hemisphere, you have Africa, South America, areas that are less developed. They have the potential for rapid economic expansion and kind of play catch up, if you will. So the way I would see that is, yeah, massively painful outcomes for especially the United States, which is better for the world. It really is, but very painful for the United States and most Western countries.
I think people in general are too busy with the rat race of their lives at the moment. But if something major happened, that would be the only way people would unite and fight against it or wake up. At the moment, the average person is just interested in surviving, to be honest.
So then,
Um,
what are they chasing after? This is something that I kind of tell a lot of people. They're chasing U.S. dollars,
mm,
chasing wealth.
I get it, which is a fiat currency and etc. etc. But unfortunately, bruv, to survive, they need to pay those bills and they need to pay it with fiat currency. They need to survive and do their thing. So that is the reality of what it is for the average person. They have to do what they have to do to pay their bills and live a life.
Yeah.
Now, if more restrictions come in and more things get harder, or the government start overtaxing us, which they already are, but let's say it gets worse, um, then people are going to start fighting back, and that's the only time they're going to wake up. Until then, they're trying to survive.
Yeah, for sure. It's totally a rat race.
Yeah,
Some people are working two, three jobs just to get that dollar to pay their bills.
yeah,
A lot of
I've
people,
done it.
that's
I've been there. I'm sure we all have at some point.
living paycheck to paycheck. Exactly.
Yeah,
You're just making sure you cover that nut at the end of the month.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So that would have to change. So people would have to be, very, very desperate, and that would change things. Which, okay, so let's play out this scenario. we have major division happening in the United States, red versus blue.
Yeah.
People are becoming more and more desperate. They're not quite to the insanity of cannibalism or, just going out in the streets and shooting everybody because they're so upset about things. But maybe we have a catalyst of this election really dividing people even more that could spill over into the economic trust of the US government
Mm.
because they're so divided. And then worldwide, you're seen as not as good of an investment. If you have if you want to put your money somewhere to invest, you don't necessarily want to put it in a business where the two business owners are at each other's throats all the time.
Yeah.
Not good business sense. So that would bring in supply of treasuries where other countries don't want to hold it. And if the supply of treasuries is enough that people don't want to hold it, then the whole bond market falls apart and debt becomes a liability, whereas it used to be something you could profit off the yield. But if it's the liability, then you just have panic selling because the debt is completely worthless. And then, you need your precious metals or Bitcoin or, an alternative. So that could produce a massive change in society. And like I said, extremely painful for the United States. What is that UFO flying saucer magnet thing you got going on there?
A 7-ounce silver floating UFO
What?
is brilliant. I think
It
it's
is
just
brilliant.
amazing. And it just
Is that what
spins constantly. It doesn't stop.
you were talking about that yesterday on the in the auction?
Yep.
I
Yep.
wasn't watching. I was listening while I was doing other things. I was working on
Yeah.
my truck.
Brilliant little thing.
Are you just gonna have that as your avatar?
Well, yeah, I was sort of looking at it and I thought, well, if I want to do anything else while I'm talking, then I look stupid. So I thought I'll put it on something. So that's what you got.
That is pretty cool though. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it is.
that could lead to very painful things if the bond market and all debt collapses. I mean, you'd think of a debt jubilee, which some people have spoken about. I think it's more painful than that. You're not just going to have a debt jubilee. But yeah, that's how economic pain could come in so bad that there's a major, major transformation in the way things are going down.
Well,
Which,
I mean, this is a problem. We know, like yourselves and us in the UK and several other Western countries are very deeply in trouble financially. Our fiat currencies are collapsing, but they are kicking that can down the road. They keep printing money, and then the debt gets higher, etc., etc. And I don't know how long they can carry on for. If they can carry on pretty infinity, like infinitely, they can't. It will burst at some point, but I don't know how long that will be.
well, it's like Peter Schiff. He's a big gold guy. He was calling for the collapse of everything back in 2003, 2004.
Yeah,
And he finally got a taste of his collapse in 2008. He's like, okay, the US bubble is done. And guess what? They reinflated it.
yeah,
Kind of,
yeah.
kind of at the same point now, they're going to keep inflating it. If
That's
they
what I
do,
think at the moment. Yeah, they'll just keep doing it.
what it looks
Um,
like, I think some kind of quick crisis may come in order to facilitate that money printing again. But yeah, it
yeah,
looks like I've said this for the past probably 2 or 3 years to people that I know that we're either going into a Great Depression or hyperinflation. There's
yeah,
we're going in a direction and start moving very quickly in whichever direction it's going. Right now, we've got a silent type of depression with inflation kind of there. So we're kind of stuck in a crossroads right where we're at right now in all markets for the past year. It's decision time. So I don't know what their plan is, but it can still go either way.
well,
Currently, it looks like.
the war will give them the excuse to print again.
Mhm.
And in the background, they're all working on the CBDCs.
Well, I don't think they're working it. I think they got that figured out a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. But what I mean is, until they're ready to put that into place, they can use the war to print more money. So they can kick it down the road for another few years until they're totally ready with the CBDCs to introduce it, change the whole system, and off we go. New system. It'll be forced on people, but they'll be made to feel good about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've always said people are going to beg for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then maybe we have. There's two ways about that. Either you get a crisis coming very soon, which my timeline for crisis would be the beginning of next year, probable. And out of that crisis, you would need the CBDCs or direct government funding, which is hugely inflationary.
Yeah.
Or you have some kind of economic depression that lasts for like 4 or 5 years of just utter shit. And out of that, kind of build out a new financial system. Is kind of the way I'm looking at it. So it's
Yeah.
like do or die time where we're going to have a CBDC this time next year, and it's going to be widespread to get us out of a very sharp crisis, similar to COVID-19, similar type of chart patterns that you would see happening, and then go into major inflation, or we go get Great Depression, and they take 4 years to convince people that CBDCs are the way to go. The end
I,
result is still the same, though, no matter
yes,
which
I
way you
agree.
go.
I think we'd see it over a longer term. I think they would have to weaken us and weaken us and weaken us over long term and then introduce it. I think trying to do it in one go would, there's older people who only deal in cash. There's certain things that just wouldn't quite be able to take on the CBDC straight away. I think it's a long term, 4 to 5 years. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
A longer term type of slowly, gently type of thing, so we don't all riot and go mad. You know what I mean?
yeah, or a little bit of both. Give us a little crisis to kind of
Yeah,
push things in
yeah,
that
yeah.
direction, and then build it out over 3 or 4 years.
Sure, that would make sense. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, dude, I've got so many chart patterns that I'm currently watching, and it's like, wow, it's all geared towards the same spot. Eventually, they do devalue the currency. It either happens like in the next few years, or I'm looking at probably after 2028, 2029, that you just the devaluation will be the end of fiat currencies. That's just the way it looks on the chart.
all right. So through either scenario, where does gold do with all this?
Gold has no choice but to become more expensive
Yeah,
in either scenario.
yeah.
So the crisis scenario, which like this is kind of loosely based on cycle theory that Camel Finance kind of plays with, and how crises. I'm kind of looking at the charts and charting them out, and like crises seem to be happening very cyclically. Like there's cycles of crisis.
Mm.
Um, and the next one I'm kind of looking at is like quarter 2 of next year, some kind of crisis. Just if the CX cycles play out. I'm not saying that it definitely has to, but certainly a possibility that they just rhythmically do it. Like, okay, it's time for another crisis. All right, print money. All right, go back into the next cycle.
Do you think the crises have been getting closer together? As in, let's say they were doing it, just an example and putting it very simply. Let's say there was one crisis, and then 2 years later there was another, and 2 years, and now it's sort of getting closer and closer. Like every 6 months, every 4 months, it's getting closer in that way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. More news, more, and this could have something to do with social media being able to spread the news and glorify it more, like spread it, making a big deal out of nothing, kind of.
Yeah.
I think the war in Israel and Hezbollah is kind of weird because they're telegraphing everything they're doing. Like, okay, we're about to go attack them. Be ready because it's going to be bad. And it's like, okay, they've done this 3 or 4 times now. It's like, why would you tell the opponent that you're going to try to score a goal at 10 o'clock in the morning on this date? Like, they're going
So
to have their
how
goalkeeper there.
how does that work in the way of propaganda and how it influences financial markets and people? It's all propaganda. It's all
Yeah,
what they want to push out there to cause fear, to cause panic.
Talking
to
about
influence
financial
things in certain
markets,
ways.
something very neat that's been happening is these, especially Israel and Hezbollah, that conflict, they tend to do things on the weekend so that
Yes.
any negativity that would be towards the financial markets is muted,
Yeah.
but they have their crisis, so it helps people climb a wall of worry if markets are still going to be continuously going up and money printing is still a thing. It doesn't damage the charts with regards to, we call it market structure, but basically on the weekly chart of your indexes, you got higher highs and higher lows, and then you have crises on the weekend that would, potentially push down markets substantially, and then it gets muted, and then everything's figured out by Monday.
Yeah. Have you noticed in general how, if you look at gold, for instance, whenever it comes towards the end of the week, Thursday, Friday, it generally, I mean, this weekend it didn't, but it generally by Friday closes on a low. So that because I believe people were a bit worried about what could happen over the weekend, it drops
Yeah,
down on a low. And then by Monday, once any crisis or anything has sort of blown over a little bit or been out there for a couple of days, it starts off fresh. And most of the time, we see the beginning of the week going up. And then towards the end, there's a little dip and we go into the weekend.
yeah, and an Asian session tends to be buying it up while the New York session has been selling it down
Yeah.
over the past probably year or two,
Yeah.
kind of a
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, for sure, it's very strange to make it seem like, oh, gold is topping out. No, it's not. There
Yeah.
it goes again.
Oh, I had someone make a comment recently on one of my videos saying, "Yeah, I don't think this is the right time to buy gold because it's at a high." And my response to that is, well, yeah, that's all well and good saying that, but if we are predicting that things are going bad and gold is going to carry on going up, then for me, I'm not looking at the price right now when I'm buying. I'm saying, in my heart, this time next year, we may be a lot higher. And if you're worried about it, being too high now and it's going to drop majorly, yeah, we'll see a downturn as in the normal ups and downs of gold, but it's going to go up in general quite
Yeah,
substantially, I think.
and it doesn't even necessarily have to be in the next year. If your time horizon, I mean, if you really want to plan for your future, you need to be looking 5 to 10 years out and
Sure.
position yourself for where things are going to be. Like when you play hockey, you don't want to race towards the puck. You want to race towards where the puck should be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, gold, I think in the next 5, 10 years, one of the only places you can really reliably be serve
Yeah.
your capital.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Not sure about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like, the
Yeah.
risk versus reward is there, but you're betting on big financial change that may not come to pass.
Yeah.
Whereas gold is tried, tested, and true. It's a safer bet. Um, and in volatile times, be the best choice over Bitcoin. Whereas as
Well,
things do get volatile, you do have a drop. Gold's going to drop 20%. Bitcoin's going to go down 70, 80%.
yeah. Yeah. Well, this is
So,
the
but
thing. I only just sort of learned about Bitcoin and I like the system. I like Bitcoin for what it is. But do I trust it to regularly go up? No, I think it's one of those things that you can have a bit of money in and it could shoot up massively and you could make a great amount. Um, but it's not a, it's like a safer bet with gold. It will consistently go up, whereas Bitcoin is a bit too volatile for me to have a major amount of money in. But I do appreciate the benefits of it.
is gold actually going up? Like even long term, is it going up in like U.S. dollar value or our fiat currency value? And I make the argument that gold maintains its price. Like for the cost of goods, what you could buy 100 years ago, you can buy today for gold.
Yeah, so keeping up with inflation, in other words. But I
Yeah.
think it's a bit of both in a way. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I suppose you're
Well,
right in
again,
that
you're
way.
to your own point, gold is going to go up. You're saying up in fiat terms, so that mindset is kind of still chasing after those dollars.
Yeah, of course. Because again, look, when people keep saying, yeah, you're thinking about it in dollars or pounds or whatever, you're thinking about it in a fiat currency. Yes,
Yeah,
bro, because at the end of the day, that is how we currently live our lives.
yeah,
So I
that's
have to
always there,
think
but
about it in a fiat currency.
for
Because
sure.
if I wanted anything, I'm not going to go in with 10 ounces of gold and go, can I buy that car? I'm going to have to convert it into fiat and then go
Yeah,
and buy that car. So
yeah.
therefore, to me, it doesn't make sense to say, oh, you're still thinking about it in the fiat currency. Of course I am, because that currently is what we use. So that is my gauge for gold.
So is that short term thinking though? I mean, relatively short term.
Bro, how long have I got to live? I could only live 10 years. I could die tomorrow. So
Yeah,
as long
for
as
sure.
I've got it and I want to hold it, I'll hold it for a long term. But the point is, I have to think of if I wanted to cash it in 6 months, if I wanted to cash it in 5 years, what would I get for it? Do you understand where I'm coming from? That look,
Fully.
yes, long term is my goal, right? And I want to pass it on to my kids. So long term is my goal. But you never know what could happen. I could die tomorrow. I could die in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I may have an emergency I need the money for. So I must also look at it in fiat currency. I don't, I've heard this many times. Oh, yeah, but you're judging it by fiat. Yes, I am. Absolutely, I am.
Mhm.
Because that's the only money I can use.
But if we're judging it in terms of fiat and thinking in terms of gold going up, as if you're going to make money on gold, I don't personally see gold as an avenue for making money,
I
making it
absolutely
traditional
agree. Stocks
fiat
and
returns.
shares and all that lot are where you make money. Now,
Mhm.
look, we can say, yeah, you're not going to make money out of it. It's going to keep up with inflation. It's going to protect your money, etc., etc.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
also, if you look in, let's say, the last year, has it just kept up with inflation or has it gone over? Well, it's gone over. Even in the last
yeah.
6 months, let's say I'm going to talk in pounds. I apologize for that. I don't know what it was in dollars, but in pounds, we were looking at an ounce being 1,500, 1,600
Yeah,
6 months ago, 6 months ago. And now it's at 2020. So it's gone up
35%.
exactly. Has inflation gone up that much? No. So yes, it can make you money. It all depends on when you buy and when you sell. And you could have been holding on to gold and it stayed static for 3 years, but all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's gone up. So yes, the potential is there to make money. Will it be as much as stocks and shares or Bitcoin when they explode? No, absolutely not. But it's the safest bet, as in, just comfortable, safest bet, which could make you money, but at its very least, will keep up with inflation, pretty much.
Yeah, so as an investor, like long term thinking as an investor, maybe think about your savings being in gold and silver just to maintain your purchasing power. That just protects you long term.
Absolutely.
And
With
and
the
then when
benefit
you want
of
to make
you may get a little boost there and there.
yeah, and if you want to actually make money, you take from your savings, your gold, and then you put
Yes,
it in an investment that makes you more gold. And then you're
absolutely agree.
denominating your life in gold.
Absolutely agree.
I
Yes.
do like that. 'Cause fiat currencies, they're devaluing the crap out of them for the long term. So a lot of people think, oh, I got a savings account. Recently, I had a buddy who bought a money market account that yields 5%. He's
Mm,
real happy with that.
yeah.
So he thinks, oh, I'm making money. I'm like, yeah, you're putting your money at risk and you're not even keeping up with inflation. You're getting 4.55% yield on that.
Yeah.
Inflation is probably 5 to 7%. So it's not underwater as much as before.
Yeah.
And I try to tell him, you want to diversify something into gold. I think that's a safe bet. He doesn't like Bitcoin. He's like, oh, it's just up and down too much. I'm like, no, yeah, but you put 5 to 10% of your net worth in Bitcoin over the long term, it performs very well.
Mm,
Same thing, 20% of your net worth in gold over the long term protects a portfolio, offers that opportunity. Depends on how much money you have. If you have $500,000 and you need to play with that, you need
yeah.
to keep $100,000 worth of precious metal. Maybe. $50,000 worth of Bitcoin, maybe the stock market, that dividends, stuff like that. Uh, Make money off of your companies will pay you to own their debt. Yeah, see the stock market. All that.
You seem to be breaking up a bit, bro.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Cam.
That's because I'm halfway around the world, gentlemen. Long distance pub.
Yeah,
You,
yeah, very long distance pub.
are,
Um,
are are you still into your silver, Cam?
oh, I'm still in my silver. I don't plan on. I don't think I ever plan on selling my silver. I have no problem financially, and I have the ability to make more fiat paper coupons if I want to. So no, I'm good. I can hold my silver. Thinking about picking up some gold probably early next year. It's supposed to have a cycle low according to Andrew and Camel in their
Oh
cycle
yeah,
theory.
yeah.
So looking like a prime buying opportunity. Just gets to, and I see a pattern that I like, the way that I trade in the guys. It's a bullish chart. It's looking really good.
Even on a seasonal thing, gold during December sort of drops anyway. I don't know about cycles and all that sort of stuff, but I normally find that in December sort of time, the price of gold drops a bit. That's a nice time to pick up. Um, so yeah, I mean, I have sold or I am in the process of selling a bit of my silver, but only to convert to gold. I'll still hold. I want to hold 1,000 ounces of silver as a base stack, and the rest I want to get rid of and put into gold.
Well,
That way, I'll feel.
gold made its run. Silver's about to play catch up, though, isn't it?
Is it? I mean, they
Well,
talked about the look, we're talking 1 to 8 in the actual quantity in the earth of gold to silver, 1 to 8. They were talking about the actual ratio being 1 to 12, that 12 ounces of silver would buy 1 ounce of gold back in the day. We're now at 80 to 1, and people are
yeah.
desperately waiting for that ratio to become smaller. Oh, yeah, when it's 40 to 1, I'll be doing this and I'll be doing that. And look, I prefer gold. I love silver. Don't get me wrong. Everyone who knows me knows I love silver as well, and I collect various forms of it, and I love it. But at the end of the day, I want a silver base stack of 1,000 ounces, and the rest I want to put into gold. 1,000 ounces is good enough for me. Look, silver has gone up and down like a yo-yo. I said it before in the 70s. Over here, it was at £2, right, per ounce. And then it went shooting up when the two brothers bought out a load and this and that happened. And by the 90s, it was back down to £2 an ounce, 20 years later. So there's so many things that can affect it. And again, remembering it's an industrial metal, so it's kept down because if they let the price rocket up, everything that is using silver in its product would go up in price, which would hit inflation. And the other thing is compounds have been looked at, which and are being produced eventually, which will uh, what you call it conduct electricity at the same or a better rate as silver. And if they ever make that right, and it happens, watch the price of silver plummet. So there are so many factors that could affect silver negatively that, yes, I'll hold a good quantity of it. So if it does boost up, I make some money, but I would rather have a bit more of my money in gold to what I've got at the moment.
What do you reckon, Cam? What's your views on silver?
I actually just tried to pull up a chart here on XAG versus XAU, and nice swing failure pattern there. I do have a trade set up, both long and short. Stop loss at the high, stop loss at the low. It's decision time for it. Say if you do get, is that 0.004? 0.004 would be a buy. Silver, convert silver to gold. Leave the pattern. Okay, kind of bullish on this. Well,
I have no idea what you're going on about.
I
yeah, I
can't
know.
hear you properly at the moment, so
I'm just looking at the chart and thinking to myself,
Oh, sorry.
chart
What's this
pattern.
0.004? Help!
Yeah, that's the XAG to XAU. So you'd have to run the calculations in US dollar terms. But eventually the target, that's going right there. Eventually the target, probably 10 years from now, should be 0.05, which is not 1 to 1. So it would be 2 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold,
What
roughly 10 years from now.
you reckon it will go to that?
That's just based on the chart pattern that I'm seeing. Yeah.
That don't make sense to me at all, bro.
Yeah. It's a
It wouldn't
trade
make
setup.
sense to me at all. It's never
What?
been at that.
So what can cause that to happen?
Oh, it's been higher than that. September 1980 got up to 0.06. So that would be 1.2, 1.2,
1.4.
yeah, something like that. 1.5, 1.5 ounces of silver to an ounce of gold.
When what year did we ever see it at that sort of ratio?
Uh, first in first of April 1968,
That's what I'm
then
thinking.
the 1980s with the Hunt brothers.
Yeah, but that's because they bought up a load of it,
Yeah,
cornered the market with it, and pushed the price up.
for sure.
Yeah. So, okay, do we see anything like that happening anytime soon to make, what's going to make silver's value go up that much?
Batteries.
Electric
That's all
cars,
I've.
yeah, I've heard that
Yeah,
theory. All right.
yeah, that's a theory. Or it remonetizes. This is a theory that I have that gold, sure, that's your money, that's your base money, but for transactional purposes, if you have financial systems shut down, silver is a viable option. And this is kind of proven by George Gammon when he went down to Argentina with
Yeah.
for inflation that they had there. He tried to sell gold, he tried to sell Bitcoin, he tried to sell everything else and try to survive. And he said the one that worked the best, not that it was great, but the one that worked the best was silver. People were willing to exchange silver. So
Yes.
in that type of scenario, yeah, silver could easily go up to three 3 ounces to
Yeah, but that's where
one ounce.
the economy collapsed totally, right, in one country, and they used silver. But then you're saying the price went up, but did it? I mean, did it against gold go up? Because they were using it as a financial, you were buying bread with it, you were buying food with it, right?
Correct.
So how was that equating to gold? I mean, if you had an ounce of gold and ounce of silver, you saying it was 2 to 1?
Oh no, that's not 2 to 1. Apologize. Multiply that, and it would be 20 to 1.
Right.
0.05. Yeah, I'm doing my math wrong.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chart right here. It was 0.03 on May of 2011. So that was what 13, 14 years ago.
Mm.
Would have been 30 ounces of silver to gold.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, that would make sense in a collapsing economy. But I don't see that happening in the US or in the UK like that. I really don't. And remember, you're talking about being used like that. But if our government wanted to transfer us into a CBDC, where's silver going to sit in that? It's not going to be backing the currency, so it won't be like the gold standard. So financially, silver won't have no place in that economy.
They don't know what their plan is. And I'm still looking at the chart here. That goes down to there, 43. Okay, I switched the chart over and comparing it the opposite direction to give me how many ounces. Currently, we're sitting at 82 ounces of silver for
Yeah,
1 ounce of gold.
yeah.
Chart pattern, and this could easily come right back down to 41 ounces and find support there.
I can
Actually, a
see that. I can see that. 40, 50 ounces I can see. But going back to when it was good at 12 to 1, never.
now that's some Cliff High. Have you heard of Cliff High and his predictions?
No.
So Cliff High is he has this web bot scraper where he scrapes data on the internet, processes the data, and predicts the future.
Right.
And he uses linguistics. Surprisingly, he's gotten some things fairly accurate.
Okay.
And the data that he has suggests a $600 silver coming during the inflationary period that should be coming in the next few years.
Right.
So I have a target for gold coming in the next few years of 6 to 7 thousand, with upwards of 12,000 or so. Base case was about double where it is now, maybe a little more than double in the next few years. So if you had silver do the same thing,
Yeah.
or not the same thing, but go to that $600 target, then you have gold at 6,000. What is that?
Well, if you had
10,
gold at 6,000 and silver at 600, you're at 10 to 1.
10 to 1. Yeah.
I
And
don't
that
see
I would
that.
see that. I would
I
see
don't
that as a
think that's
peak.
I don't think that's realistic at all.
Too bad. That's what they tried to say.
Yeah.
Nah, that would require, wow, a total breakdown of this chart. Uh, Not impossible, though. I would say it's impossible. We're kind of sitting at the highs now for the silver to gold ratio, where it's been ranging. It's kind of sitting at the highs. I can see it
Yeah.
coming back down to
Yeah.
20 to 1, maybe 10 to 1 on a spike. So yeah, if you do see a $600-ish dollar, $400 to $600 silver ounces, get rid of it. Get it
Yeah,
back in the gold.
absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't think we'll ever see that. I could see silver maybe going to 50, £60. So I don't know, $70, $80, whatever it may be, the conversion. But, let's
Yeah.
say 70 or 80, maybe even 100 at some point in the distant future, 5 years, 6 years. But I do not see it going 600 at all. I just think it would. Can you imagine the cost of the missiles which carry 30 kilos of silver in them, or the cost of the car batteries that you'd be buying, which carry 5 to 10 kilos in them, right? On electric cars, they want to bring these prices down for everyone, and silver shoots up that much. You have to understand that's going to hit industry so much and
Yeah.
inflate prices so much. It's just illogical. They can't allow that to happen.
Well, they do they really care though? Like if you I've watched some videos on like TikTok or YouTube or whatever and show the cost of these missiles as they're blowing them off. They're like $150,000 per missile.
Yeah,
And they're just shooting them out as target practice. And they go through a 15 pack or something like that. And it's like, well, there goes $3.5 billion in a matter of 10 seconds. Like
yeah,
money
I
well
get
spent.
that. Okay, so the
Do they,
governments
do
will
they
print
care?
money. The governments will print money to be able to have all those weapons. Let's say, okay, so we're unlimited on that.
Yeah.
What about cars which they want to go electric and they want this, that, and the other, and we know that the batteries are going to go towards silver. There are other compounds that can be used, but silver is the main one, right? What
Yeah.
about that then? When those prices go skyrocketing high and the average person can't afford an electric car?
Correct. And that would be subsidized. Governments would be funding those operations. If they really want to go woke,
Yeah,
they'll they'll be funding it. So you'd be taking advantage of government stupidity, essentially, and you're betting on silver going over $100 an ounce. You're betting on government stupidity, which historically speaking is not a bad bet to take.
yeah. But who ends up paying for that stupidity in the end, bruv?
Oh, the people do for sure.
Exactly. So in the end, you may think the government's giving you a handout to buy your car, right? Government stupidity, but the real stupid ones are us because we're the ones paying for it one way or another.
Yeah.
Whether they tax us in another way, like fuel or anything else, or whatever way they tax us one way or another, they'll get that money back or a big lump of it. We're the stupid ones,
Can I ask a question?
of course.
I'm going to just go a little way out there with a little bit more of a way out thought. A possibility to get over that issue about the cars is what about if they develop, dare I say, AI that well to automate cars where basically what Elon Musk talks about, this robo taxi. Do we need a car, or do we
You,
just?
yeah, but brother, you still need the silver in those Robocap taxis for the batteries.
Yeah, but you don't need as many cars.
Mm, yeah, I can see that. There'd be a maybe a 20% decline in cars because you're going to have less demand for those cars, but also more people will be riding in these robo taxis because it'll be government funded, most likely.
Yep. And if the
So then you
government,
have
if the
reallocation of capital that's coming from your government,
yeah,
which makes the majority of the people fund the wokeness and the government stupidity.
yeah,
Then you go with the robo taxis. Yeah, there'll be a demand for it. And then the government contracts are just so ridiculous. There's so much fluff and extra spending.
yeah,
And I think the cost of silver is not as big an issue as whoever wants to line their
in the big scheme of
line
things.
silver. Whereas the pork they put in there is another line item. Just gets swept away the expenses. So that could be a catalyst for excessive government spending and major hyperinflation.
Mm,
They don't care. They won't care. They'll devalue the currency, and that's just what the cost of doing business
yeah.
in the end.
And I suppose possibly if there was, I don't know. I know people talk about it, a total reset and the basics of starting again, then throwing all that money into the system from starting again, they've kicked the can down the road 1,000 years because it would probably take hundreds of years before that effect starts to come back on the people again because it started afresh. So the reality is they could just do what they want to do. So
Well, they say the average Fiat,
anything can happen, can't it? Really, I suppose it's weird, so
they
strange.
they say the average lifespan of a fiat currency is 100 years. That's what I'd heard. I may be wrong with that.
Yeah, historically speaking, yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, 100 years for a fiat currency, averagely. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a
So
bit deep.
end of empire type stuff where they just spend the money and be like, yeah, we'll spend $600 an ounce on silver, no problem.
Yeah.
When you have worthless pieces of paper, how many does it take, for a loaf of bread? You're talking Weimar Republic, wheelbarrow money.
Mm.
Yeah, you can easily have $600 to $1,000 an ounce for silver because at least it's something. But you're having gold at 80,000, which is probably closer to the proper price that it should be anyway, given the devaluation of currencies. It should be valued somewhere around 40,000. That's speculation as well. Probably not wrong. And you want to skate towards where the puck is going to be, not where it's at now. Skating towards $40,000 gold price. You're looking in the future position for that. So you take that box in.
So when they get rid of fiat currency, or let's say it collapses, right, and then they go into a CBDC, do they then revalue the gold at the new CBD price? And how would that fit into what society holds? As in, do you know what I mean? So at the moment, let's say it's 2 grand, as in pounds, £2,000 roughly for a 1 ounce gold. And as the value of the fiat currency debases and goes down, gold goes up to 40,000.
Yeah.
And then they introduce CBDCs and they convert your gold into CBDCs. Are we going to have the equivalent of 40,000 compared to other people who don't have that much? Do you know what I mean? Are they going to equate it at the 40,000, or do they reprice it within CBDC to be a lower price?
Hmm. So it depends on the economic destruction that does happen. So there's chart patterns, and I think I said this like 6 months ago when I was on with Camel, that in the inflationary scenario, you're going to have the indexes in your stock markets are going to be valued twice as much as they are now, and they just switch out the currency and value it 10 to 1 for their new currency that they put out. it would be valued 10 to 1. That would actually make the chart patterns make sense um, from wave perspective, timing perspective, all that. It would be valued 10 to 1. So if you do have a very inflationary period where they're destroying the currency, you're essentially going infinite. The price of gold, it can be way higher than people expect because you have no value in your fiat currency. And then they stop that one and revalue their new currency 10 to 1 for the old currency. So you could have a $40,000 gold that then gets revalued to 4,000 in the new currency.
400,000.
No, 4,000. It would be 4,000. So
Oh, 10 to 1 in the reverse then.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah.
You have to have price stability. And that would be the reasoning for the new currency is our old currency is no longer stable. Let's revalue everything. So your indexes would technically on the chart, they would crash 80%. Gold would crash 90%, something like that. But it's still your value and purchasing power actually remain the same.
Yeah, I get it.
You're still protecting yourself.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. That would make sense. They would have to bring it back down to that value. So yes, your purchasing power will be the same, but it's back to an affordable amount within the new currency.
Yeah, which is currently unaffordable.
Yeah.
It's like home prices. Those things just keep going up and up. And, well, I don't want to buy. I'm waiting for a crash. And then it doubles in price. Like, okay, crap. And then when it does crash, it's around the same price that you originally didn't want to buy it for, but now it's considered cheap. So like, okay, well, I guess I have to buy.
Yeah.
I love learning finance. Financial markets are so funny the way they work. Like currently the value of Bitcoin, or like you were saying a bit ago, gold, like, oh, gold's at its high. It's 2,000 pound per ounce. That's at its highs. And like, you have no idea how high this could go. This is probably a low. I mean, if you look at the bigger picture, this you're talking a cycle low happening around here, and we're getting into some trouble areas coming soon. But that's the way it always works, though. When markets move up, people are afraid to buy because they're like, "Oh, it's already went up too much. I missed the boat, so I'm going to wait for it to come back down." Usually, that it doesn't give you the markets don't give you optimum entries where it makes sense that price came right down to my buy area. This is where I was planning on buying. Everything is 100% good. I'm the master trader here. And then price just goes up for my entry. What usually happens is price hovers around a high and people get a little pullback. They buy that pullback. Then they start spewing on Twitter, price is going to go up. It's nothing but up from here. And then price dumps down another 20%. Like, this is a good buying opportunity. And then it dances around there for 2 years. And then it goes up. And then people are like, okay, well, now I just got to wait for another dip that happened last time. You know what happened? It's going to dip again. And it never does. It just keeps on going. Quite often what happens with charts, they just keep pushing. They don't give you the buy setup you want. You just have to take what you...
Yeah.
So the price of Bitcoin sitting at 60,000, a lot of people are like, it's at the highs. That's at an all-time high. It's like, yeah, it's probably going to go higher, especially in the long term. That's just because your money is dying, and everybody knows it.
Very interesting.
I love that.
Very interesting.
I love that. Do you know the greatest thing about bringing Cobra onto a chat like this? With the spinning UFO. It's like, it allows me to just it allows me to just go and cook my dinner, go to the toilet, do the washing up, take the dog for a walk.
No, but do you know what it is, brother? I sort of, when I've got a lot of respect for you, Chemo, and for Camel, but I like to question you. It doesn't mean I necessarily disagree with you. I want to hear your other options. I want to hear, well, what about this then? And what about that? So I won't just sit there and go, yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. I want to hear the other side of it.
For sure.
I want to play
There's
devil's advocate with you and go, well, what about this then? And what about that? You
and
know?
that's what helps the thinking, because I was making a video on this past week, how the crypto market, everybody's so convinced that, oh, we're in the mid cycle and this thing's about to go to $1 million, whatever. I see a lot of posts like that, but now's the parabolic time. And it's like, okay, so the market's just going to move up so you can cash out your position and then you make millions of dollars. Kind of really not how markets work. They usually
No.
make you think that it's going to work and then it doesn't. And then you get hurt. Not that the market's necessarily designed to harm the most amount of participants, but usually the participants position themselves to receive the most amount of harm, and
Yeah.
they're not cautious because they're so one-sided and they only see price going that direction, or they only see society going that direction, and they're blind to any other outcome, and they can't see the opportunities that are actually presenting themselves.
Well, wasn't the general feeling with Bitcoin, for instance, that it was going to go shooting up even 6 months ago? You know, there's going
Uh,
to be another peak, there's going to be another high, and all, and it didn't happen. It just flattened out like a pancake.
yeah, the anticipation was everything's ahead of schedule. We just had the halvening event, so we
Yeah,
should see major price appreciation. Chart is way more bullish than usual,
yeah,
and there's the opportunity. The opportunity was to sit on your hands and watch it go sideways.
yeah, yeah,
And there's trading opportunities in there, but if you're not experienced with it, you're kind of guessing as to what's going on. And we
absolutely.
all are. We're all guessing
Yeah,
what's going on. And like Camel and I always preach is risk management. Know your invalidation of your main idea. Once that's invalidated, you don't have a valid thesis and you need to be looking the other direction.
mm,
So kind of the way that I play it, is price going to go up? I currently have the patterns that I'm trading from the long term that say, yeah, it should go up for another peak. How far is that peak? Well, that's yet to be determined. Could we down from here and go down 50%? Very easily. And my stop losses will get hit and I'll be wrong on my idea, but I
mm,
protect myself. So similar thing with gold and silver, or speculating that the US dollar is actually a viable currency. You need to have your invalidation. And what do once you're invalidated? The idea that your fiat currency is paying your bill, you need to jump back into gold. And that's your stop loss, essentially.
yeah, yeah.
That's your fail safe. Get back to baseline. Your baseline should be gold, silver, as it has been for thousands of years. The baseline has always been gold and silver.
Yeah.
which is
So
why
after my video, someone turned around to me and said, "Oh, be careful, because when they bring in these CBDCs and all this lot, they will ban gold and silver." And I thought, where's your logic in that? Why have you even come up with that? You know, they will confiscate it, they'll ban it. They're looking at something that happened years ago in America.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that. I don't understand the logic in that statement. Can you see anything with that?
Very much so.
Why?
So this is why I kind of expect the CBDC to come first. So why would they would they'll make it very difficult to purchase gold and silver, in my opinion. And same
Right.
thing with Bitcoin. You would have to be registered, potentially a accredited investor, to speculate in commodity markets or something like that. The reason for it is can't they can't devalue the currency unless if they have something to devalue it against. So they actually have to own it. They have to be a major market participant, which central banks are. Don't get me wrong. Central banks are a major market participant when it comes to precious metals. But in order to devalue it, they need to have the majority of that commodity so that they can devalue their currency in relationship to it. And if they devalue the currency while people are holding precious metal and getting that price appreciation,
Yeah.
that leads to inflation that gets out of hand. It's very inflationary. So to keep inflation down, they need to somehow block the population from holding things that will protect them.
So it all works against us anyway. So what's the point of what we're doing if they can suddenly turn around? Would they be able to suddenly turn around and go, right, you've got to give us all your gold and silver?
Mm, yeah, but we're playing against the people that make the rules. So the government, they can change the rules to suit their needs, and they can say, well, gold, Bitcoin are the problem here. Okay, so take this scenario for example. I was talking earlier about a potential civil unrest slash civil war in the United States and Western countries that would bring the bond market to its knees. It'll devalue it severely. If that happens, it becomes very, very painful. And the outcome is they have to print money to buy their own bonds, which will devalue the currency.
Right.
And that would be a national crisis. That might even be a worldwide crisis where all of the countries have to band together and say, well, the problem is there's speculation happening on gold, silver, and Bitcoin because the prices just shot up all of a sudden. And yeah, they'll block people from owning it in the guise of national security. It's a national security risk to have these available on the market. So we're outlawing people owning more than 5 ounces of gold, more than a certain amount of ounces of silver, and your Bitcoin should be handed over to government authorities.
So
And
would
these
they have
people,
to compensate you? So let's say I hold 50 ounces of gold and they say you're only allowed to hold five. What, I'm just supposed to give 45 ounces of my gold, which has been my savings, my money. I'm just supposed to hand it over, or would they compensate you?
they don't necessarily have to. I think
So they
like
can
100
just
years
steal
ago,
my money, which I've
mhm,
worked all my life for.
has is there any precedent for this happening before?
Once before.
I would argue that this has happened historically. It happens all the time. That governments will just step on your rights as a citizen to suit their needs.
And
So
do you
could
think that everyone will just sit back and go, yeah, go on, grab it?
they? Okay, so what percentage of the population holds precious metals? If you
Not a
know, I
major
don't know.
amount. I would only say a few percent, two or three.
2 or 3%. So you sacrifice the 2% for the greater good. I can see an argument for that. Not to say it's going to happen because that's kind of like what's happening in North Carolina, where it's just like, yeah, these people are getting totally shit on, but it's a small portion of the population for the greater good, maybe. So yeah, they changed the rules to suit their needs. This 2% of people that hold precious metals, and like, unfortunately, you guys got shit on, and we devalued the
All right.
currency.
So why do we carry on holding it? If we know this is a real risk, in fact, not just a real risk, but a probable risk, because you've just said they would have to do it to debase the currency and all that lot, right?
Yeah, yeah, they'd have to try to do it as much
Yeah.
as possible for
So
sure.
why are we holding this money knowing that's a real risk?
So if you don't hold it, then you're stuck in the rat race regardless.
Yeah.
You hold it because it's a trade setup. Your risk versus reward is great on this. You hold it because of the slight chance that they're not able to take it from you, and
The
you end up
slight
being
chance.
extremely, yeah,
I'd rather hold the fiat then. I'd rather hold the fiat that they can't, or I mean, they'll debase it, so they're taking it from you anyway, I suppose, aren't they?
yeah,
They
they'll take that
debase it,
from
they
you.
take it from you anyway.
Yeah,
So it's not just a small proportion of people. It's everyone. If your whole fiat is debased and you're screwed anyway, if your whole gold they nick it off you and it's gone anyway. So it's not the greater good and all that rubbish. It's everyone.
Oh, Cobra.
Well,
How many times have we said that? We're fucked. We're always fucked. We're always fucked up the arse.
yeah,
yeah. So the reason you hold the precious metals is on the possibility that you don't get fucked. The
Yeah.
same
oh,
thing
that's
with
nice.
Bitcoin. They could put Bitcoin to zero
The
overnight.
possibility. And
Yeah,
how would
that,
they police taking my gold? How would they
you
police
just
it?
you make it illegal. The same thing they did 100 years ago.
Yeah, and people hid it then.
Yeah, they did, and they weren't allowed to kind of bring it out in the public for 45 years. I think it was.
Yeah. So you pass it down generation to generation. And one day they go, yeah, you can have it again. And my son or grandchild comes out with 50 ounces.
Yeah, exactly.
Lucky
And,
them.
So over
yeah,
time,
exactly.
you're good.
Exactly.
But this could also lead to like Western nations doing that, where they take your gold, silver, and your means to protect yourself. But other emerging markets, like in Africa or Philippines or South America, they don't implement such things. So that would lead a lot of capital to flee towards those underdeveloped areas, leading to that economic expansion. Like El Salvador, they're a Bitcoin country. It's legal currency over there, not as likely to be confiscated over there. But we're all at risk for the confiscation of property, uh, gold, silver, or Bitcoin. We're constantly at risk of that. Your gold, I mean, you got to bury it in your backyard, keep it safe. But if you have it in any vault, it's definitely at risk. Same thing with your Bitcoin. If you keep it on an exchange, it's at risk for getting confiscated. If you hold it yourself, then you have the opportunity to benefit from potential reset of the currency that could possibly be coming and maybe coming sooner than most expect. No
I don't know,
guarantees.
brother. I just think it's bullshit.
Oh, it is.
Excuse my language. I think it's
But
bullshit.
Now, what did I
I've
say?
worked for this money. I've worked hard for the money. I've invested it now in gold and silver, let's say, for my future, for my kids' future and all that. And these idiots can just come along because they've overprinted their money and overspent it in bullshit government schemes. And now I've got to be the one to suffer again.
Yep.
yeah, it just becomes passing the hot potato. Whose turn is it to suffer?
Yeah,
Peasants again, isn't it? We said that
yeah.
we spoke about this. I don't know how many times, haven't we now?
I know, bro.
No, no, no. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's a joke because when you go to a proper, you really think about what could happen, what has happened. We're just not in control. We'd like to think, or we've been under that deception of thinking that we're in control of what we do, but
Yeah,
we really
we're not.
aren't.
Freedom.
We just aren't. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, freedom. We're just
So
not.
So
these people claiming benefits and living on the breadline, but claiming benefits and doing, man, good luck to them. Good luck to them. Because really, I often get upset with the fact that I pay loads of taxes and this, that, and the other, and then it goes to people. Don't get me wrong. Anyone who needs benefits, absolutely help them and give it. I'm not saying that, but these people who don't want to work, don't want to do nothing and claim benefits, I've always put them down. But you know what? They've got the right attitude because I've killed myself all my life, and now you're going to nick all my money anyway.
yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
totally, totally. Like it's the whole thing where you just, no matter which way you turn, you just can't get ahead.
Yeah,
And the system seems to be designed that way with various forms of taxation. When you got your outright taxation on your income,
yeah.
you have property taxes on all your
Sales
property,
taxes,
sales taxes when you go to spend that money,
yeah.
and
Fuel
then
taxes.
death taxes, fuel taxes, carbon taxes. And
Yeah,
then on top of that, when they can't get enough of that, the other tax is the inflation. And they
Yep.
yeah,
just
yeah.
they get you every which way.
And why aren't we fighting against this? Why ain't we going? This is bullshit. Why am I killing myself to have absolutely nothing at the end of it? Why aren't we fighting this?
Technically, buying gold and buying Bitcoin is fighting against it.
No, not if they can literally pass a law that we're not allowed to own it. What have you thought? They've won again.
They will, as long as people abide by those laws. But when those laws become too tyrannical, well, we've got guns over here.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very true.
Um, Something I was thinking about with the implementation and how they would change that law and the confiscation of gold. And it might
yeah,
not be the outright confiscation, but I would expect it to happen after the implementation of this central bank digital currency, because they'll have much more control over it. They'll be able to block your transactions that go towards buying gold, silver, or Bitcoin. They'll flag your and say, "Oh,
Well, isn't that where Bitcoin would come into its element then? Because people will start trading in that because they're fed up with their stupid currency that can control us.
I think that's the idea of why it's brought out, wasn't it? So Kem's muted. I don't know
Oh,
why. Um, I think that's the idea, dude, of why
yeah,
it was
Bitcoin's
brought out as
there.
a totally decentralized
Yeah.
idea, which is, of
But it would take it to the black market again, bruv. It
course it
wouldn't
would
let it
do.
be public available like it is now.
No.
It would then take Bitcoin back to
Black
the
market.
black market,
Yeah, for sure.
peer to peer,
Where's the value
directly.
there? There's the value there. What is that value compared to something that's widely available for everybody to use to protect themselves, which is going through a black market? Value might be cut in half temporarily through when people realize, oh, it isn't that viable escape, but like gold, and people fled back into that severe devaluation of currency because of central bank currency at that point.
Sorry, your voice is going up and down, brother. I'm finding it very hard to hear
Yeah, that's because my microphones are always garbage.
you.
Um, the, they want to devalue the currency, but they need to hold the assets in order to do it. Otherwise, you have massive inflation. So maybe they end up having massive inflation if they just don't care. That's a possibility. Um, yeah, that's the way I would see it: is central bank digital currency first to be able to trap people in the dollar system or the fiat system and block the escape hatches,
Mm.
then confiscation. So that's what I would be watching out for.
Makes sense.
I don't know
It's,
how easy it would be to police that, though, bro. I really don't.
well, they policed us all and kept us in our homes, didn't they?
No, but keeping you in a home, bruv, and nicking your gold off you are two different things. Because do you think I'm going to declare what gold I've got, or do you think I'm going to have it sitting in one place for them to come and
No,
grab it?
no, that's not what Kem was just talking about, though, wasn't it? It was called.
Well, percentage of the population, like given the lockdowns that happened 2, 3 years ago, you have a percentage of the population that said, hell no. But you had a vast majority that were just like, okay, guess we're locked
Yeah,
down, kind
yeah.
of the way it went. So imagine the same thing happening with gold and silver, the confiscation or whatever. Um, you'll have a small portion like yourself. It'll be like, you're not coming to get my gold. That's
Yeah.
the reason that I bought it. But then other people that are tricked into, oh, patriotism, it's the greater good for the country, national security, I have to give up my gold. They did that
No.
100 years ago,
You got,
and people fell for it.
yeah, you got the other thing as well is name and shame.
Oh, yeah.
You get named and shamed. Look what happened during the flu season. Flu season. You was told to snitch on the people if you knew they had whatever, and it wouldn't take that much propaganda to actually make anyone with precious metals or Bitcoin the baddie, and that's what's making this happen. And then as it's probably just a very low percentage of the population, the majority could start saying, "Oh yeah, that remember that Andy guy? Yeah, let's snitch him up. Let's." It's so easy to do when it comes down to money and fear. It really is.
And
It's
propaganda,
crazy. Sorry.
money and fear and propaganda. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And to be fair, Cobra, we're plastered all over the frigging internet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know we are. I'm talking in general, but the average. But I mean, let's say we weren't on the internet,
Mm,
then I'm talking. But yeah, I know me and you and whatever, the few of us who have gone on the internet have plastered ourselves about.
yeah.
But in general, people, if I was one of those people who wasn't on the internet, I'd be hiding my shit, and that would
Uh,
be it. You
uh,
ain't getting it.
you'd be thinking about getting out and going somewhere else
Oh yeah, absolutely,
and
absolutely.
preempting and getting out.
Yeah, preempting you, but it only takes one day for them to go. Yeah, boom, today
Yeah.
it's banned.
Yeah.
so then you got to mentally prepare yourself for where would you go.
Yeah.
You need to start that preparation now so that when the time does come, you're like, okay, I've already thought about this. I've set up my passports. I've set up where I want to go, done my research, and it's just a flick of a switch at that point to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So should I be spending my money to set up a house somewhere else and all that lot rather than saving it all in gold?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it, really?
That would be the $1 million question. I don't know if I'd spend a lot of money purchasing property in another country unless it's a good business. But I would look into how I would go about purchasing something very quickly if need be. Just do the research. I mean, if you're just playing around doom scrolling on the internet anyway, look at some properties down in safer areas or free areas. I don't know what that looks like over across the pond there, but over here it looks like South America, Central America.
Mm.
What would you guys think where you're at? Would you guys look at Central America or South America? Or would
I
you be
would.
looking at Africa or
I would. I'd look
Australia?
at Central America.
Really have no idea.
Very hard, isn't it? It's
Oh,
very
it
hard.
is, mate. This always reminds me. These conversations always remind me of my Monopoly board. You know
Yeah.
that set out I said,
Yeah.
like
Brilliant.
we're never allowed on that bloody chessboard. All we're allowed is to go round and round on that bloody
Monopoly board.
Monopoly board. You know, we're never allowed to be up on that chessboard. And you look at our history. There's always the castles. There's always been the noblemen. There's always been the peasants.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is living a very up-to-date version of the old ways.
Yeah.
I
And
was just talking to somebody this week about Monopoly and how it mimics our current world. How you're incentivized to go around the board to collect
Yeah.
that $200 when you pass go,
Yeah.
and
And
you
pay it
go
out in
by.
taxes.
You got taxed all the way around to get that $200 when you pass go, and then you're taxed.
Mad, isn't it? It's mad.
Freaking
Chemo,
crazy.
like Andy did a brilliant video with an actual Monopoly board and a chessboard in the middle of it. And it was like us lot running around the Monopoly board, living that rat race. And then the upper echelons sitting on the chessboard working out their little strategies of how they're going to screw us over. But bro, this is the thing. We talk about a rat race with fiat currency, but us lot, let's say, who think we've thought of all of this sort of rubbish, we're in a rat race to build our gold or our silver or whatever else.
Yeah.
So it's all a fucking rat race.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just enjoy life a bit more.
Yes.
For sure. Throw caution to the wind.
Because we're still bloody chasing gold and silver, aren't we? So, or Bitcoin or whatever it may be. I mean, me and Andy had a conversation about all this recently. You know, we're running around. I'm not chasing it as such, but I love it. I love my gold and silver, so I'm buying it for that reason. But in a way, it's to store wealth, and in a way, it's to give something to my kids and all the rest. But it's still a sort of rat race. It may not be fit. You know, we can put down fear. Yeah, it's not backed by anything. It's paper. It's just lived off the trust of people. But as I said, it's what we use, it's what we live with, so it has got some value to us.
Yeah.
But it's the same with gold and silver. It's a metal. We've put the value on it.
Yeah.
And if we don't want to have that value on it, it ain't got no value.
So true. The rat race of rat races.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own rat race.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're just trying to get on the board.
And the value is all placed by us. Even with gold and silver, it's just a metal.
By us? Or are we told through propaganda or conditioning that that's where the value is?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's given it that value? You know, if I was someone who didn't trade in that, you know, we went back to a barter system and we were, yeah, I've got some chickens. Oh, you got some bread. All right. You can have half a chicken. I'll have 3 loaves of bread or whatever. And I found a gold bit of metal. Yeah, it's pretty, but it ain't got no value to me.
Yeah. In the land of starving people.
Yeah.
The man with the sandwich is the guy that survives. Your gold is worthless.
Exactly. So what is the real value? I mean, you know, we value it by fiat currency. It's all bullshit. I'm sorry. It really pisses me off.
Do you know what? I went to Kem. I wanted to call this episode "Bullshit and Bollocks,"
Yeah.
and Cobra said, "You can't do that. And I think he's mentioned this is all bullshit. I don't know how many times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Heck yeah,
I
bullshit
just
and
didn't want.
bollocks to do it.
Yeah, I just didn't want it titled bullshit and bollocks because people will look at the title and go, "Well, I'm not going to listen to a load of bullshit and bollocks." You know what I mean?
But in theory, that's what we do, don't we?
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what the pub chat should be called from now on. The bullshit and
Bullshit
bollocks. Fuck,
bollocks.
I
I
mean,
love it.
bro, no disrespect to you at all, or Camel, right? So you study these charts day in, day out. You watch the cycles. You predict this through the cycles. You place
Mhm.
your bets basically on the side. Are you not in a rat race with all that?
And totally in a rat race. It's the
There you
same
go.
thing.
So it's
So
all a rat race, whatever way you
when I,
do it.
when I started trading, I thought, oh, this is easy money, and I won't have to work a job anymore,
Yeah,
and I'll be able to just make money with financial markets. And then it turns into a job.
yeah,
And pretty good at it.
yeah. And
If you're
great.
good
I'm
at it,
glad you
do it.
are.
But it's no different than working in a construction job. You get really good at it, and people pay you a high rate for what you do.
Yeah, yeah,
Same rat race.
absolutely. And in the end, no matter what way you look at it, we're all after the money, whether it be fiat, gold, silver, Bitcoin, stocks and shares, and all that. It's all for wealth. But at some
Yeah,
point, we've got to also sit back and say, all right, like Andy's thinking, all right, I've built up some wealth. I've secured myself in the event of any eventuality that could happen. Now, bloody enjoy your life because we're killing ourselves chasing after something that they could take away from us at a flick of a switch.
oh, heck yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. They could take your life away. So what do you value? Well, you should
yeah,
be valuing your life and those around you.
absolutely. Yeah,
Great thought.
Amen to that.
yeah.
What a great way to finish.
There you go.
That's amazing. That's 2 hours. I know you haven't been on for 2 hours,
And
Cody.
I do apologise
No,
about
that's
that,
fine,
bro.
mate. That's fine. I love these. As Ken was saying, it just makes you really, really solidly think hard about
Yeah.
what you're doing. Are you really in charge? Who is in charge? Well, it definitely ain't me. All I'm trying to do is survive. Really,
Yeah, yeah, that's it, really.
you're trying to
And protect
survive.
yourself as much as you can.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
That's all we can do.
Oh,
But that's the beauty
survive.
of this conversation.
yeah. And then we go, yeah, those people down there, they don't think about none of this. They don't realize what could happen. You know, we need to teach them not, do we? Are they not better off not knowing and it's gonna hit us one way or another anyway? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I
Ignorance is
think like
bliss.
that.
Yeah, but that's another podcast because I will jump
Yeah.
into that and say
Okay.
with the advent of social media, then the rat race for the people that want to do social media is to get on the rat race of convincing people that they need to look after themselves, they need to learn this, they need to learn that, and then all they're doing is earning money for it. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Same
It's
thing.
you get
So
obviously,
this makes me think of crabs in a bucket. So fishermen, when they go getting their crabs, they just throw them in a bucket,
yeah,
and the crabs end up staying in the bucket, even though they're alive and they're trying to climb out. Because eventually you have one that is actually climbing up and looks like he's about to make it up, and then the next crab underneath him grabs a hold of him and pulls him back down.
Yeah.
We end up having that in society where it's like everybody is stepping on everybody else to try to, thrive and survive.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Crabs in a bucket, and to get out of that bucket, you need to quit thinking like a crab, I guess.
Well, the thing is, to get out of the bucket, the crabs need to work together.
Yeah,
The trouble is, if a crab gets out of the bucket, the man who's got the crab just gets him and chucks him back in the fucking bucket.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's what happens to us.
Or the crabs need to work out how not to get caught.
Mm.
yeah.
You know,
There we go.
there we go. There we
Your
go.
Which is
homework for this next week is to figure out how not to be a crab in the bucket and work together with your fellow crabs.
yeah.
Become a lobster.
Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Unbelievable, guys. I think that was really cool.
It
Thank you.
was.
Thank you
It
very
was.
much indeed.
Thank
I
you,
love hanging
brother.
out and getting the updates from overseas. I like it.
Oh, I do
And
as well.
Chemo, great chatting to you, bro. Thank you.
I love chatting with you guys. I mean, you guys are kind of like mind, like I was saying earlier in the podcast. Like-minded people. We got to, reach out to those that are like-minded, have these
Yeah,
conversations.
yeah,
Also, not forget who's around us, and try to reach out to them as well.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Reinforce that.
That's how communities are built.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The
for
thing is as
sure.
well, just one last note, whether we're doomed, fucked, whatever, it'd be nice to know that I've got and met a few people around the world that we all understand it and we can all be doomed and fucked together.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that note, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
Much,
for having me.
much
Bye bye.
appreciated. Cheers, 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 cheers.
See you.